guys, welcome back to Aviation Explainer today. We got another video on the update of Virgin Australia, as Virgin Australia is tackling the Qatar Airways Alliance concerns. So this is written by CH Aviation by Andrew Curran, and this is the latest update, so stay tuned. Virgin Australia Brisbane International has responded to claims that its proposal integrated alliance with Qatar Airways will result in an open-ended wet lease agreement, relying on foreign labour and seeing cutbacks in existing partnership benefits. In contrast, the carrier says the impending alliance presents a rare and valuable opportunity to improve the airline competition in Australia. Qatar Airways Group wants to buy a 25% stake in Virgin Australia and significantly deepen an existing non-equity strategic partnership into a so-called integrated alliance. Leveraging Qatar's capacity and deepening our commercial relationships gives us a shot at something special, Virgin Australia CEO Jane Herdlicker said last week. This partnership gives us a scale we previously didn't have. This week, the airline responded to several submissions made to the Australian Competitive and Consumer Commission, or ACCC, one of several government agencies that must approve of the planned alliance. The alliance offers the chance to introduce further domestic capacity and greater choice for Australian travellers. Virgin Australia's filing reads it, it will directly benefit the consumers and downward pressure on existing airfares to cost of living crises, and fares have surged over 40% compared to pre-pandemic levels on Europe, Middle East and Africa routes. Key to the alliance's proposal by Virgin Australia to wet lease Qatar aircraft to operate daily round trips to Doha from Sydney, Melbourne and Perth International and Brisbane. Qatar already flies daily to these cities, and in this case of Melbourne, twice daily. Virgin Australia has already had code-share with these flights on multiple Qatar-operated flights beyond Doha. An application by Qatar Airways to increase flights to Australia last year was rejected by the Australian government for reasons never made clear. If Virgin did decide to acquire wide-body aircraft to commence these services, it would need access to those aircraft. The delivery horizon, which is currently in the region of 5 to 7 years, the filing reads, there is no scenario where Virgin Australia can do this by itself today or build a long-haul business independent of a scale international partner carrier. Refuting Qantas's claims, Virgin Australia's application had faced some pushback, including from the Qantas Group, because its proposed wet lease had no clear date beyond the alliance's authorisation period, and would rely on a Qatari workforce paid less than their Australian counterparts. The group says that without some limits, the wet lease may be used to sidestep domestic laws and regulations. The proposed wet lease enables Virgin Australia to schedule services crewed entirely by Qatari pilots and crew, whose pay conditions are substantially less than the Australian-based crew. Its submission reads by the ACCC. On face value, that means Virgin Australia will have no incentive to develop its own international services using Australian crew on these routes, if it can effectively bypass Australian laws and regulations. Virgin Australia disputes this. Its alliance application period covers 5 years. It notes that Qantas, a larger airline, is currently wet leasing Finnair A350s for 2.5 years before moving on to a dry lease. Through the wet lease arrangement, Virgin Australia is quickly able to efficiently commence services from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne and Perth from mid-2025. Virgin's filing says, unlike the Qantas Finnair arrangement, which is used to operate Qantas's pre-existing services with foreign-based crew, Virgin Australia is wet leasing services to deliver entirely new service that would not be otherwise flown. There is no Australian jobs in existence which are being replaced or removed as a result of the decision to use a wet lease. The Australian Federation of Airline Pilots broadly supports the Virgin Qatar alliance, but wants the airlines to transition to a dry lease arrangement by the end of the 5-year period or cease the wet lease flying after 3 years. They say wet leasing is an appropriate short-term tool, but should not be indefinite. Virgin Australia says that under the proposed alliance, there would be a preferential direct entry pathway for Virgin flights and cabin crew into Qatar Airways, including via agreed pilot and cabin crew. Secondments. It also says that the plan to return to long-haul flying is on a gradual basis, utilising its own aircraft and crew. However, it does not commit to moving to dry lease within 5 years at the end of that time. If the ACCC determined that either the wet lease or the broader proposed conduct were no longer in the public interest at this time, there are opportunities for their reconsideration. Its filing needs. Etihad out and other partnerships remain. Separately, Virgin Australia's filing points out that the proposed geographical exclusivity arrangements around the code-share and only existing opportunities to learn and redeem points across Virgin's partnership network and issue agitating some travellers. Qatar Airways will become Virgin Australia's exclusive interline code-share and loyalty partner, headquartered in the Middle East or Turkey. The filing notes, Virgin Australia's arrangements with South African Airways and Virgin Atlantic are unchanged. Etihad Airways will cease to be a Velocity frequent flyer partner with or without the proposed conduct. Virgin Australia does not code share on Etihad Airways services. Etihad confirmed earlier this week that it would end its current arrangement with Virgin Australia on June the 1st, 2025. The decision reflects the divergence in a strategic direction of the representative airline. Etihad's statement said that last decade, Etihad held a 21% stake in Virgin Australia, one of many strategic stakes Etihad held in the airline that later went bust. While Virgin Australia and Etihad Airways once had a significant partnership, this is much more limited since 2020, Virgin Australia filing noted. The only change to existing arrangements with Singapore Airlines, SQ Singapore Changi, will be to remove Europe, Africa and Middle East destinations as codeshare flights. Loyalty arrangements will remain unchanged. Virgin Australia says the proposed integrated alliance will allow it to grow and expand services. The airline says that the alliance will incentivise and prioritise passenger uptake of its wet lease operated services to Doha that connect to EA destinations, supporting their viability and potential future growth of Virgin's network. In turn, Qatar Airways will be able to maintain and grow its commitments in Australia by supporting Virgin Australia's growth. It's a phenomenal partnership. We've learned from the past and we will not repeat the same mistakes. Said, it enables us to work differently. Thank you all for watching. That's today's update about the Qatar Airways tie-up, so please stay tuned as there'll be more updates. Like and subscribe to see more content. We'll be starting up a mini-series on Airbus and Boeing about all their past, present and maybe even future aircraft that they are designing and have built and have gone into service, so please stay tuned for that.